before we descend into the darkness together, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Tap the like, because what you're about to hear will challenge everything you thought you knew about the internet's underbelly. And I need to know you're with me for this journey. The dark web isn't just a place. It's a dimension where humanity's most horrifying impulses breathe freely, where crimes so disturbing they defy imagination occur without consequence, where evidence disappears like smoke and perpetrators walk among us as free men and women. Today, we're not talking about Silk Road. We're not rehashing the stories you've heard 1,000 times. No, today, we're going deeper, much deeper, into the websites that left no trace, no justice, no closure. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered what happens when someone commits the perfect digital crime? When there's no evidence, no arrest, no punishment. When victims scream into the void and nobody hears them. That's what we're exploring today. These are the dark web stories that left no evidence behind. And fair warning, what follows is going to disturb you. It's going to make you question the safety of your own digital footprint. It's going to keep you up at night. But that's exactly why we need to talk about it. Because ignoring evil doesn't make it disappear. It makes it stronger. So turn off the lights, put in your headphones, and let's begin. The first website I need to tell you about is one I can't even name properly on this platform. For legal reasons, for community guidelines, I'll call it Pink Crystal. But make no mistake, this website represented something so vile, so fundamentally wrong, that even speaking about it feels like contamination. Pink Crystal was dedicated to revenge, not metaphorical revenge. Not some abstract concept, real revenge against real people, mostly women. And the revenge took the form of intimate images and videos posted without consent. Now, I need you to understand something. This wasn't just some corner of the internet where angry exes posted a few photos. No, this was systematized, industrialized, monetized. Pink Crystal operated like a machine designed specifically to destroy lives. They didn't just host content, they weaponized it. Picture this. You're a college student. Let's say your name is Shelby. You're living in Texas. You're building a future. You have dreams. Maybe you want to join law enforcement. Maybe you want to help people. You've taken some intimate photos, sure. But they're private, locked away on your devices, never shared with anyone. You trust your own security, and then one day, your phone explodes with notifications, messages from strangers, death threats, threats of violence I can't even repeat here. Your social media is flooded, and you discover that Pink Crystal has somehow impossibly gained access to your private photos and posted them for the world to see. But here's where it gets worse. When Shelby contacted the administrators to take down the images, they didn't just refuse. They harassed her. They had a Twitter page where they would advertise their newest victims. They would tag the person's social media, rally their fan base to attack these women. They turned destruction into entertainment. Shelby sued. Of course she sued. What else could she do? Her dreams of law enforcement were shattered. Her privacy was obliterated. Her safety was compromised. But the lawsuit failed. And do you know why? Because nobody knew who ran Pink Crystal. The operators were ghosts, untraceable. They used a hosting company called Cat's Global Media that specialized in untraceable domains. Even investigators couldn't figure out who these people were. Domain registration, admin accounts, operator records, all purposefully obscured. And here's what keeps me up at night. Pink Crystal made money, lots of it. They ran ads. They had premium features. Conservative estimates based on similar sites suggest they were pulling in $13,000 a month. $13,000 earned by destroying lives, by traumatizing victims, by operating with complete impunity. When the lawsuit brought attention, when public backlash intensified, did they shut down? Did they face consequences? No. They retreated to the dark web and continued operating for years, destroying more lives, making more money, leaving more victims in their wake. It wasn't until 2014 that the FBI, working with Europol, finally managed to shut down Pink Crystal. But even then, even with the combined might of international law enforcement, they never caught the operators. To this day, nobody has been charged. To this day, the people who built this empire of suffering walk free. And before you think this is ancient history, understand this. The anonymous owners have attempted multiple times to relaunch the site. They keep trying. They keep testing the waters because they know the truth. Digital crimes are the perfect crimes. When you can hide your identity completely, when you can operate from anywhere in the world, when you can monetize human suffering without ever showing your face, why would you stop? The victims remain traumatized. The perpetrators remain free. And somewhere out there, right now, as I'm speaking to you, there are probably other websites just like Pink Crystal surviving in the depths of the dark web, waiting, operating, destroying. Now, before we continue into even darker territory, I need you to do something. Take a breath. Look around your room. Remember that you're safe, at least for now. And then hit that like button if you're still with me, because what comes next is somehow worse. And I need to know you're ready. Let's talk about Archetype Market. Now I'm tired of hearing about Silk Road. I really am. Everyone knows about Silk Road at this point. It's become almost quaint, almost historical. The internet's first drug marketplace run from 2011 to 2013. Founder Ross Ulbricht arrested and sentenced to life in prison. We get it, but here's what most people don't know. Silk Road was just the beginning, and Archetype Market was its most successful successor. The story starts in Germany. A boy growing up in the shadow of the Berlin Wall's collapse, 5 years old when the wall fell, growing up surrounded by poverty, surrounded by drugs, and by the time he's a teenager, he's experimenting, alcohol mostly, drinking himself stupid every day, showing antisocial behavior, getting on everyone's bad side, a wasted youth heading nowhere fast. But then something changes. At 20 years old, he tries hallucinogens for the first time. And in his own words, it felt like someone had given him the gift of critical thinking. He started questioning everything. Why was he drunk every day? What happened to the dreams he had as a child? The dream of doing something good for the world, of practicing a social profession, of helping his fellow human beings. After his 4th trip, he stopped drinking, overnight, completely, and he started focusing on new goals, goals that would change the dark web forever. This is when he discovered Silk Road, and while he admired Ross Ulbricht's work, he believed it was tainted by greed. He developed his own ideology, a belief that drugs shouldn't be illegal, that substances aren't inherently good or evil. They just are, and that criminalizing them created more harm than good. His name was Mark Hegemister, and in 2020 he founded Archetype Market with a mission: to create the longest-running online drug marketplace ever created, to prove that freedom meant access to any substance you wanted, to destigmatize the industry, to do what he believed was his duty. Now let me be clear about something. I'm not endorsing this ideology. I'm not romanticizing drug markets. People die from drugs every single day. Hundreds of thousands of lives destroyed, families shattered, communities decimated. But understanding how these people think, understanding their justifications, that's crucial to understanding how they operate for so long without getting caught. Mark studied Silk Road intensely. He learned from Ross Ulbricht's mistakes. No communications from personal emails, no identifying information on the site. Everything deeply encoded. He implemented a cryptocurrency called Monero for transactions, complete anonymity. He had 6 vetted distributors covering different bases. No arms trafficking allowed, no personal information sold, just pure, unadulterated drug marketplace. And it worked. For 5 years, Archetype Market operated successfully. 5 years. That's basically unheard of in the dark web drug trade. Most marketplaces get taken down within months. But Mark's careful planning, his attention to security, his commitment to his twisted ideology, it kept him safe. It kept him free. It kept the money flowing. Because make no mistake, this wasn't some small operation. This was the top marketplace on tour. Millions of dollars in transactions, thousands of users, drugs flowing to every corner of Europe and beyond. And all the while, Mark believed he was doing good, providing freedom, serving humanity. But freedom has consequences. People overdosed on drugs bought from Archetype Market. People developed addictions. People died. And Mark, sitting behind his encrypted systems, never had to see their faces, never had to watch them suffer, never had to answer to their families. Operation Deep Sentinel changed everything. A sentinel is a guard, a soldier protecting people from harm. And this operation, a joint effort between Europol and police agencies from 44 different countries, had one goal: shut down Archetype Market, arrest Mark Hegemister, clean up the dark web. It took time, it took resources, it took international cooperation on a massive scale. But in June 2025, they finally succeeded. Archetype Market was seized. Mark was arrested. The longest-running online drug marketplace in history was finally shut down. Now today, Mark sits in jail awaiting trial. His ideology destroyed by reality. His freedom taken by the consequences of his actions. And Archetype Market joins the graveyard of similar marketplaces, never to return. Or so we hope. Because the thing about the dark web is this: for every marketplace that gets shut down, 3 more spring up in its place. The demand never stops. The suppliers never quit. And the cycle continues endlessly into the darkness. But if Archetype Market disturbs you, if the idea of a drug marketplace operating for 5 years with impunity keeps you up at night, then you're not ready for what comes next. Because we're about to discuss something so sickening, so fundamentally evil, that even writing about it makes me feel contaminated. Before we continue, I need you to subscribe if you haven't already. I need you to hit that like button, because the ad revenue from these videos goes toward better research, better production, better ways to expose these monsters. And exposure is the only weapon we have. Let's talk about welcome to video. I'm going to be blunt with you. This section is going to be difficult. I'm going to use terminology that YouTube requires me to use, even though it feels disrespectful to the victims. When I say cheese pizza, I'm referring to the exploitation of children. I want to be as respectful as possible to the victims of these crimes, but platform restrictions force my hand. Just know that behind every euphemism is real suffering, real trauma, real children whose lives were destroyed. In June 2015, a website launches on the Tor browser. It picks up traffic quickly, very quickly, because it's offering something specific, something horrifying. Videos, many videos, some circulating the internet for years, some brand new. A marketplace dedicated to the worst crime humanity can conceive, the exploitation of children. Most websites that host this content are small, maybe a couple thousand videos, and even that number is obscene, unforgivable. But law enforcement typically shuts these sites down fast. Operation Gray Skull earlier this year shut down 4 dark web websites, arrested 18 people, handed out 300 years of collective jail time. The Assistant Attorney General, Matthew R. Galit, said it clearly. You will not find a safe haven even on the dark web. But Welcome to Video was different. This wasn't some small operation flying under the radar. This was massive. This was industrial. This website hosted over 200,000 videos, 250,000 pieces of evidence of ongoing crimes against children. And those numbers didn't appear overnight. This site was active for years, 1.2 million registered users. Let me say that again, 1.2 million accounts. If that were a podcast, it would be in the top 15 most popular on Spotify. The city of Philadelphia has 1.5 million people. That's how disgustingly large that number is. And here's what makes it even worse. The site had memberships, free accounts, and paid accounts. 4,000 people paid money to access premium exploitation content. 4,000 people who decided that sexually explicit material involving children was worth their money. Now, a lot of the videos came from another site that got shut down. But the growth of Welcome to Video was unprecedented. As more users joined, they uploaded their own materials. 45% of the videos were unique. Over 100,000 videos that had never been seen before. Which means these weren't archived crimes. These were active crimes, happening in real time. Children being exploited while the website profited. When the United States government discovered Welcome to Video, they mobilized immediately. Homeland Security and the IRS started working to identify the operators, and they caught a break. The servers weren't very secure. They tracked the IP back to South Korea, but that was just the beginning. They needed to identify exactly who was running this nightmare. Welcome to Video accepted payments through Bitcoin. And while most people think Bitcoin is untraceable, it's not. Not if you know what you're doing. The investigators followed the blockchain. They surveilled suspects with less secure networks. They tracked the money through the dark web until finally, in March 2018, they got him. Sun Jong-woo, a South Korean resident, the creator of the largest child exploitation website in history. 337 other people were arrested. Not just users, active exploiters, people creating the content, criminals caught in the act. Many children were saved. Justice was served. Happy ending, right? Wrong. Sun Jong-woo is free today, walking the streets of South Korea, breathing fresh air, living his life. How is that possible? How does the creator of a website with 1.2 million users, 200,000 videos, and 4,000 paying customers get to walk free? When he was convicted, South Korean courts gave him 18 months. 18 months for the production and distribution of child exploitation material. The maximum sentence at the time was 5 to 7 years, which is already unacceptably low. But he got even less because he needed to support his family. I'm not making this up. That was the actual reasoning. He needed to support his family. As if the families of his victims didn't matter. As if the children whose lives he destroyed didn't deserve better. The United States attempted to extradite him. We wanted to charge him here, give him a real sentence, actual justice, but South Korea refused. They charged him with fraud for gambling with the money he made, giving him another 24 months. Total sentence, 3.5 years. 3.5 years for running the largest child exploitation marketplace in history. 3.5 years for hosting 200,000 videos. 3.5 years for facilitating the ongoing abuse of countless children. And then they let him walk free. The citizens of South Korea were furious. They demanded justice. They took it to the Supreme Court, and eventually, the court raised the maximum sentence from 7 years to 29 years, which is good. It's progress. But it doesn't change the fact that Sun Jong-woo is free. He can't leave his country or he'll be arrested. But within South Korea's borders, he walks free. The 1.2 million users, most of them face no consequences. The 4,000 paying customers, still out there, probably accessing other sites, probably continuing their crimes. And welcome to video might be gone, but the demand remains. The sickness persists. And somewhere in the darkness, another site is probably growing to take its place. Before we continue, before we sink even deeper into this abyss, I need you to do something. Take a moment, process what you just heard. Remember that these are real crimes with real victims, and then share this video, not because it's entertaining, but because exposure is our weapon against this darkness. The more people who know, the more people who understand what's happening in the shadows, the harder it becomes for these monsters to operate. And while you're at it, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you've hit that like button, because I promise you, we're nowhere near done yet. Let me tell you about Carter. This is where we shift gears slightly. We're moving from exploitation to theft, from violence to fraud. But don't mistake that for a lighter topic, because what I'm about to describe is a crime that affected millions of people across every nation on Earth. A crime that resulted in hundreds of millions of dollars stolen. A crime that, despite international manhunts and years of investigation, ended with the perpetrator walking free. The year is 1984. A boy is born in Russia. The fourth son of Valery Selzenev, a member of Russia's Duma. For those unfamiliar, the Duma is essentially Russia's parliament. Think of it like the House of Representatives in the United States. Valery was responsible for debating and passing legislation. A powerful man, a political figure. And his son, Roman Selzenev, grew up with all the privileges that came with that position. Not much is known about Roman's early life, but we know he loved computers, really loved them. And by 2003, at the age of 19, he began his career as a multinational hacker. His hunting ground, a dark web website called Carter Planet, a forum for selling and trading stolen information. Roman's specialty was stealing personal data. He'd hack background check websites, retrieve social security numbers, criminal histories, addresses, everything, and he'd sell them on Carter Planet. But there wasn't much money in social security numbers. The real profit was in credit cards. Roman developed a system. He'd scan the internet for something called MSRDP open ports. Think of these as cheap padlocks on the back doors of administrative networks. The front door had state-of-the-art security, but the back door, easy access. He'd connect remotely, break through the weak security, and steal all the financial data without ever getting caught. But there were thousands of networks to scan. Most only had a few credit card numbers, not worth the effort. So Roman hired another hacker named Bad B to write an automated program. This program would scan multiple networks simultaneously, looking specifically for large batches of credit card numbers. Big businesses, financial institutions, banks, and it worked beautifully. After a couple of days, they got their first credit card dump, thousands of numbers, and they sold them for thousands of dollars. Over the next year, they stole credit card information from multiple nations. Eventually, they developed malware that could crack even more sophisticated security systems. By the end of the year, they were making hundreds of thousands of dollars. But in 2004, law enforcement caught the scent. The operators of Carter Planet realized they were being watched and shut down the website. Roman needed a new home. That's when he discovered Carter, the functional successor to Carter Planet, new and improved, operating like the eBay of credit card theft, hundreds of vendors, thousands of buyers, millions of dollars in stolen credit cards. If you ever watched the news and wondered where all those stolen credit card numbers were going, this was it. A dark web criminal syndicate orchestrating multi-million-dollar heists across every nation on planet Earth. And Roman was a major player. He posted ads across the website. He had money, reputation, trust among thieves. But Roman had a problem. His partner, Bad B, was getting jealous. Roman was making obscene amounts of money using a program Bad B had created. Their friendship soured. A war began. They competed for sales. They trash-talked each other. They tried to destroy each other's credibility. It was nasty, brutal, and they became the only real players on Carter. Two master thieves fighting for the throne. Then in 2010, Roman caught a break. Bad B was arrested in France on a US warrant, extradited on charges of fraud. The battle was over. Roman won. And with no competition left, he became the crown prince of credit card fraud. For 4 years, he reaped the rewards. He traveled the world. He hired more employees. He got richer than ever. The smallest estimate for his total earnings? $17 million. But the United States Secret Service was watching. Because here's something most people don't know. The Secret Service isn't just responsible for protecting the president. They also investigate financial crimes. And Roman's operation was the biggest financial crime they'd ever seen. So they started digging. They followed the digital footprints Roman left behind. Even when he used VPNs to hide his location, he made mistakes. He reused the same systems, the same hosting companies, the same domains, all under the same aliases. And eventually, they got a name and a location: Roman Selzenev, the Maldives. In 2014, in coordination with the Maldives government, he was arrested and extradited to the United States. The dark web mecca of credit card fraud, Carter, was finally shut down, and the crown prince of credit card fraud was finally in custody. But that's not where the story ends. Because when Russia found out, they called it an illegal kidnapping. Roman was their citizen, their concern. The United States had no right to arrest him without Russian due process. They demanded to know where he'd been arrested. The US refused to answer. Tensions escalated. Eventually, through the American legal system, it was revealed that Roman had been arrested in the Maldives. Now, here's the thing. The Maldives doesn't have an extradition treaty with the United States. The US government negotiated specifically with them to arrest Roman, and Russia considered this a violation of international legal norms. But the United States had a defense. Back in 2009, when they first discovered Carter, they reached out to the FSB, Russia's equivalent of the FBI, and requested assistance in capturing Roman. But Russia refused to help. So the US argued they had no other option. You didn't want to arrest him. So we did. Roman was found guilty of wire fraud, device fraud, credit card fraud, illegal access to protected computers, and the compromise of over 2 million credit cards. He was sentenced to 27 years in federal prison. 27 years. Finally, justice. But remember who Roman's father was: a Russian politician, a member of the Duma. This wasn't some random kid. This was the Russian equivalent of a senator's son, and Russia wanted him back. Over the years, the Russian government continued making noise about the arrest. They called it politically motivated, unjust, a violation of international law. But Russia had an ace in the hole. Russia had prisoners the United States wanted back. 2 journalists, activists, a US Marine named Paul Whelan, who'd been arrested in Moscow in 2018 on espionage charges the United States vehemently denied. Paul was literally told upon his arrest that he was being detained specifically for a prisoner exchange. In exchange for these prisoners, Russia wanted several people back, including Roman, a business fraudster, a couple of spies, and the famous Russian assassin, Vadim Krasikov. In 2024, the exchange was agreed upon. Roman was released to Russia. When he arrived by plane in Moscow, he was met by Vladimir Putin himself. And to our knowledge, he now walks free. A man who stole hundreds of millions of dollars, who compromised over 2 million credit cards, who orchestrated one of the largest financial crimes in history, walking free, breathing fresh air, living his life, because international politics valued a prisoner exchange over justice, because his father had connections, because the game was rigged from the start. Now, let me ask you something. How does that make you feel? Knowing that someone can commit massive crimes, get arrested, get sentenced to 27 years in prison, and still walk free within a decade? How does it feel knowing that if you have the right connections, the right nationality, the right political leverage, you can escape consequences entirely? This is the reality of the dark web. This is the reality of international crime. Evidence can be found. Arrests can be made. Convictions can be won. But justice? Justice is never guaranteed. Not when politics get involved. Not when power matters more than morality. Not when the game is rigged from the beginning. We've covered 4 websites today. Pink Crystal, where revenge was monetized and operators remain free. Archetype Market, where drugs flowed freely for 5 years before the arrest. Welcome to Video, where the worst crimes against children resulted in a 3-year sentence. And Carter, where hundreds of millions in stolen money led to a prisoner exchange and freedom. 4 websites, 4 sets of criminals, and in every single case, either no arrest, light sentences, or complete freedom. This is what happens when crime moves to the dark web. This is what happens when evidence can be hidden. when identities can be obscured, when international borders protect criminals instead of bringing them to justice. But here's what I need you to understand. These aren't isolated incidents. These aren't rare exceptions. This is the norm. For every dark web criminal who gets caught, dozens operate with impunity. For every website that gets shut down, 3 more take its place. The dark web isn't shrinking, it's growing. Every single day, new marketplaces open, new exploitation sites launch, new revenge platforms appear, and most of them will never face consequences. So what can we do? How do we fight back against this darkness? The answer isn't simple. It requires international cooperation on a scale we've never achieved. It requires laws that actually punish these crimes appropriately. It requires technology that can pierce through the anonymity. It requires vigilance from everyday people like you and me. Which is why I make these videos. Not for entertainment, not for views, but because exposure is the first step toward change. The more people who know about these sites, the more pressure builds on law enforcement. The more public outrage grows, the more politicians feel compelled to act. The more we talk about these issues, the harder it becomes for criminals to hide in the shadows. But I can't do this alone. I need you to share this video. I need you to talk about these issues with your friends and family. I need you to demand better from your representatives. Better laws, better enforcement, better protection for victims. Because right now, the dark web operates with near impunity, and that needs to change. Before I let you go, I want to talk about something important: digital safety. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Every single one of us leaves a digital footprint. Every photo we take, every account we create, every password we save, it's all potentially vulnerable. Sites like Pink Crystal existed because people didn't protect their data properly. Crimes like Roman succeeded because networks had weak security. So let me give you some practical advice. Use strong, unique passwords for every account. Enable 2-factor authentication wherever possible. Be careful about what you share online, even in private messages. Remember that nothing digital is ever truly secure. Nothing is ever truly private. And anyone with enough skill and motivation can potentially access your information. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to prepare you. Because the dark web isn't some distant threat that only affects other people. It's a real danger that touches all of our lives. Your credit card information might be for sale right now on a site like Carter. Your photos might be vulnerable to theft by a site like Pink Crystal. Your children might be at risk from predators using sites like Welcome to Video. This isn't hypothetical. This is reality. But knowledge is power. Awareness is protection. And by watching this video, by understanding how these criminals operate, you're already taking the first step toward protecting yourself. You're already becoming part of the solution instead of part of the problem. Now I want to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me what you think. Should international law be changed to make dark web crimes easier to prosecute? Should sentences be harsher? Should there be more cooperation between nations? Or do you think the current system is working as well as it can? I read every single comment. I take your opinions seriously. Because this isn't just my channel. This is our community. And together, we can push for the changes that need to happen. Together, we can demand justice for victims. Together, we can make the dark web a little less dark. If you made it this far, thank you. Seriously, thank you for sticking with me through this difficult, disturbing, but absolutely necessary conversation. Thank you for caring enough to learn. Thank you for being willing to look into the darkness and say that it's not okay, that victims deserve better, that criminals shouldn't walk free, that justice matters. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you've hit that like button. Make sure you've turned on notifications so you never miss a video. Because I'm going to keep making content like this. I'm going to keep exposing these sites. I'm going to keep demanding accountability. And I need you with me every step of the way. Share this video. Talk about these issues. Demand change. Because together, we can make a difference. Together, we can bring light to the darkest corners of the internet. Together, we can ensure that sites like Pink Crystal, Archetype Market, Welcome to Video, and Carter become relics of the past instead of blueprints for the future. The dark web might be where humanity's darkest secrets hide, but it doesn't have to stay that way. With enough pressure, enough awareness, enough dedication to justice, we can change things. We can protect victims. We can catch criminals. We can make the internet safer for everyone. But it starts with you. It starts with awareness. It starts with caring. It starts with refusing to let these crimes happen in silence. So take what you learned today. Take this knowledge. Take this anger. Take this determination and use it. Use it to protect yourself. Use it to protect others. Use it to demand better from the systems that are supposed to keep us safe. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is about. Safety, justice, protecting the innocent and punishing the guilty. It's not complicated. It's not controversial. It's basic human decency. And if we can't demand that, if we can't fight for that, then what are we even doing? Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. Thank you for being here. This journey into the dark web has been disturbing, difficult, sometimes unbearable, but absolutely necessary, because the only way to fight darkness is to shine a light on it. And that's exactly what we did today. Until next time, stay safe, stay vigilant, and never forget that behind every story we discuss today, there are real victims who deserve justice, real families who deserve closure, real people who deserve better than they got. And it's up to us to keep fighting for them, even when the criminals walk free, even when justice fails, even when the darkness seems overwhelming. We keep fighting. We keep exposing. We keep demanding better, because that's what it means to be human. That's what it means to have a conscience. That's what it means to care about something bigger than ourselves. Thank you for being part of this fight. Now go, share this video, start the conversation, and let's make the internet a safer place together.